Welcome to Ask the Divorce Whisperer. So glad to have you with us. We hope to have some really helpful information for you here today. If you're thinking about or even considering going through divorce, or if you have a friend or someone you care about, a family member that's going through divorce, and they could use some information to help explain what's happening in the divorce cycle that they're in. And so that's our goal with Ask the Divorce Whisperer live Facebook event. We're trying to demystify divorce for people and give them free information about how divorces go and the opportunity to ask experts questions, because you can ask questions in the comments below here. So that's our goal. And later you can watch this on Facebook, on YouTube, if you'd like to. So today I'm really excited to have a very interesting and useful person on our show. Her name is Glenda Sullentrup. And she is a therapist, but she's a special therapist. She does career counseling, and she does it very well. I've personally used her for clients in the past, so I can personally vouch for her. And she's helped some clients who have had to go back to work due to a divorce. And wow, they haven't been a nurse for 20 years. Can they start nursing tomorrow? No, they can't. They have to go through some more training, or maybe they don't want to be a nurse anymore. COVID, AIDS, all sorts of things. They don't want to be a nurse anymore, and they're going to start out with nights, and they have kids. Can't do that. So what else can I do? And these people are also going through it's an upheaval of their entire life. And you're going to start a new career in the middle of that. Well, my suggestion is you don't do it alone. Do it with some help. Do it with some help. And you can get that kind of help from the person I'm interviewing today, Glenda Sullentrup. So Glenda, let you say hi to the audience.
Hey, everybody. It's so good to be with you, Marta. It's good to see you and be here.
Thank you. And we always start with me being able to ask the expert one question. And that question is, if you had somebody you really cared about who was in the middle of divorce or considering divorce, facing divorce, and you could only give them one piece of information from your specific background, that you would suggest they take, what would that one piece of advice be? So I'm going to start out with asking you that question, Glenda. If you had to boil it all down to one piece of advice, what piece of advice would you give someone that you really care about?
Well, anybody who knows me knows I would have trouble with just one piece.
Fair enough. And we're going to have time for you to give us more than one, so that's okay. But we'll start out with one.
But I think that you nailed it already. I think getting help. It is such an upheaval. It is a traumatic event, even if it's going well. It's a traumatic event. And lots of moving parts and components, of which do I need to go back to work is one, and it's a big one often for people. I specialize in career counseling, but I'm a mental health counselor. And so my focus is always the mental health aspect. How is that impeding this person's ability to get back to work, let alone all the specific advice I could give you about how to get a job and what job to get. So that's why it's hard to boil it down to one. But I think, as I said, you've said it, get help. It can save you time and money and frustration and help you feel confident again and knowing that you're heading in the right direction is so much better than floundering around.
Oh, yes. Yes. Can't agree with you any more. I have seen people and sent you people who are really floundering, and they didn't think they'd be in this position. This was not the plan. And so they're experiencing, just as you said, a lot of trauma around the divorce itself. And then they get hit in the face with, and go get a job by the judge. And the promise between spouses was, I'll stay home with children if you make enough money to support all of us. So we fall into roles during the divorce, and one person's role is child care, and the other person's role is working. Now they may both have the working role and the sharing in the child care role, but they may not. A lot of people still live that traditional, one person's at home and one person's at work, one person's the main breadwinner. So if they do fall into that category, and they haven't been back to work for a while, this is a really scary thing. And what I have found is that you can really bolster their self-esteem, that they can get a job, that they deserve a job, that they deserve a job that they enjoy. And one more thing, that a lot of the self-esteem that they're going to try and recover from, that the divorce takes away from them, can be recovered through work. So people that stay at home and say, no, I need $100,000 in maintenance, and I'm just going to stay at home. And they just kind of curl up in the corner of the couch or corner of the living room. And that is such a bad role model for the children to see. It's like, one parent is just shut down and is not participating in our lives anymore, and can't get themselves to go to the grocery store and cook anything or take us to school. And the other parent is functioning very well. Well, they don't want to be with that person that's not functioning well. So that makes kids not want to be with that person. And that person already has low self-esteem, and it's going lower and lower every day. And they don't realize that getting the strength and the ambition and taking that scary step of moving out of the comfort zone and, okay, I'm going to get a job, really can be the answer for them, really can help them. And then after a while, working is just normal, and they have other relationships, and they see that they can come out of that shell that they've been living in, and, oh yeah, that's right, I can talk to people. Oh, that's right, I can make people laugh. Oh, yeah, that's right, I can type. I can take care of things. So that was just a very long answer. I'm sorry. But would you agree that if people can get over that hurdle of, what, I have to work, and they find something that is a good match for them, not forever, but for now, it's a good match for them, that helps with the divorce and the amount of self-esteem they lose in the divorce?
You are right. The number one answer I get to what keeps you from figuring this out is fear. And if they've been a stay-at-home parent, maybe they've never written a resume, or the last resume they wrote was 20 years ago. I still have people sometimes have married or divorced and their height and weight on their resume, which was ancient, a long time ago. We used to have to do that, not anymore. So not knowing those things and not knowing how to start, what is the first step I need to take, is very scary. And you also mentioned not forever. So, and in finding a good match, sometimes if I say this once, I say it 100 times. People often who are working will just be so desperately anxious to get out of this horrible situation that they go from the frying pan into the fire. And so desperation, and divorce can lead to that kind of feeling, can cause somebody to run to something that is just awful for them, which they don't need that right now. They've just experienced awful. So taking a few moments, spending a little time and money on figuring out what would be a good fit for me. And yes, it doesn't have to be the job for the rest of their lives. It can be a stopgap till
Yes.
we can figure out the rest of it if they're in a hurry, but to at least take time to assess some qualities about themselves that will help them choose wisely.
Yes.
And skills and their personality and interest and their values are the big four that help. When you know that information about you, then you can hold up all these other options next to that and decide if that's a good fit or not. You know,
Perfect.
employers and potential employees make this big decision on a blind date one time. You know, they do an interview and they offer a person a position. You don't know anything about them, and it's very much like a marriage. So we want to see how close we can get to it being the right fit, so that it brings you self-esteem, confidence, along with the paycheck that's needed at this time.
Oh, I think that's so wisely said. You put it so wisely that they'll just jump into something, and it's like jumping into another relationship before they've unpacked the first relationship. And so it is like a marriage. I spend more time with my office mates than I do with a spouse, more awake time, and you don't want to go someplace that's totally different than what your values are, but you might not even know what your values are. It's just so helpful to have a coach coaching you along. And it's a place where they can also let down and say, okay, here's what I did in this interview. What do you think? What should I do differently? There's always another job around the corner. You always get another chance. You always get a second chance at it. There are even do-overs with the same person, like a second interview with the same person. And working with a coach can help prepare you for that second interview also. I just can't imagine doing it by myself. I look at clients and say, you think you're going to do this by yourself? Unless you've always wanted to work at packaging packages for FedEx or UPS, maybe that's your dream, but you're doing it in a big warehouse on conveyor belts, and if that's scary for you, that's not where you want to start. It's not where you want to start.
Even those interviews can be harder than you might imagine. Interviews today are happening via digital means. They're even happening without a live person. You just get questions that pop up on a screen and you have to record your answers. So how do I do that? Yes, my goal is to help people reach their goal. I help them figure out what their goal is. And then how do I navigate these strange things that pop up that never existed when I did this the last time?
Yes.
So yeah, it's always nice to have somebody holding your hand.
You wouldn't go to surgery on yourself, right? You wouldn't go sign up for a play and take the starring role and never have a dress rehearsal, and never have any coaching for that play, not have a director for that play. And yet that's just a play at the community theater. That's just one night, 2-3 nights out of your life in the whole summer. And the job It's where you go every day for most of the hours of the day. So it is such an important part. It's such an important piece that you need some help with it. So can I ask you some questions? How do you help people figure out what kind of job they may be suited for or happy at?
That's a great question. And I love that part of it, the exploring part. I
Mhm.
like to use career assessment. Now, people get scared about testing, but this is fun and exciting, and you learn a lot about yourself that you maybe didn't know, or it validates what you did know, so that, again, that confidence piece is there.
Yes.
I find that sometimes people come with ideas that they've thought about, and the assessment process then can validate that for you, or
Mhm.
show you where maybe management's not the thing, because this component in this assessment, the way you answered that, you might struggle with that more than you thought. Doesn't mean you can't do it, but let's find maybe the step below so you can learn that and gain confidence before you jump into that piece. Or if they're considering going back to school, this can be your focus. So what I find about career assessment is that it gives you those words that describe what you need for work to be satisfying, that template that I held up earlier,
Yeah.
and or it validates what you've been thinking about and gives you more that you maybe hadn't thought about to think about. And so it's a concise and formal way to get this information quickly. And I love it. I love helping
Yes.
people through that process.
And then what do you do after you have that assessment?
Right.
How do you help them after that assessment period?
That's the next step, right? Great question. Then we look at, so we have 3 or 4 assessments. All of those assessments give you occupations to consider based on the results. And what I do then is we pull this all together on a worksheet, and we look at, oh, looky there. Nursing comes up all 3 times, or engineer comes up 4 times, or
Wow.
we're seeing consistency here.
Yeah.
And then I have them list those things that keep showing up, prioritize them,
Yep.
and then I give them ways to research that, a couple different ways to research those options,
Mm.
rather than the trial and error method. Well, I thought about nursing, I'll go to school and then I'll do it and then find out, oh, it's wrong.
Don't like it.
This is this is better to know before you buy, kind of a thing.
Yes.
So I give them ways to research online. There are several databases free, published by the federal government, information that's trustworthy, not just somebody's blog about nursing, where they, again, career counseling is really a process of sorting. I like it, I don't like it, I like it, I don't like it, and then prioritizing what's left. It's the prioritizing piece that people forget. And getting this information helps them to go, I thought I wanted nursing, but not anymore. I
Yes.
didn't know it had that in it.
Yes.
And
Yes.
the other thing that would be my piece of advice that I would give my friend is to talk and talk and talk to everybody you know about the things you think you want to do. What is their job really like? Uh, some of this you can't, I call it getting it from the horse's mouth, you know?
Mhm.
The web pages are great, full of great information, but you can't ask things like, what's happening in the industry? What are the trends? How is technology taking this job away or enhancing this job? What's it really like day in and day out? So networking is the jewel and piece of advice that I would give to people, because you want to know what it's really like, and those same people can help you land that first position.
Wow.
So
Yes.
it does double duty.
Yes.
Mhm.
So it's been a long time since I've gone through an assessment like that.
Yeah.
And uh, And one of the things that was popular a long time ago was informational interviewing. Do they still do that? Is that still recommended?
That's part, I'm saying networking, but informational interviewing is what I'm suggesting. Yeah. Once they have researched these using those databases, again, we're pulling things, nah, it's not, and we're whittling it down to three possibilities. Then I suggest informational interviewing to people who are already doing those three things. And in a variety of ways, you know, nurses can work in so many settings. You
Yes.
might have your eyes on a hospital floor nurse, but there's pediatric office nurse, there's hospice nursing, there's all kinds of ways to be a nurse. And so how do you know hospital floor nurse? And if that one's not good, maybe there are others that might fit better. So
Yeah.
absolutely, informational interviewing is just a really good way to help you know more about what the job is really like and have people helping you. Having more eyes and ears in the process for you is going to be the thing that helps get you the job faster than looking online, sending in your application and resume, waiting and twiddling your thumbs, hoping they pick you, hoping they pick you. And then you never hear anything and you're like, ah.
Yes.
Put you more in charge.
I totally get that. And then it's sort of like you're the hub. And then it seems like you go out, you get this information. It doesn't have to be scary. You're just getting information. You're not interviewing them to be your next spouse, right? You're just getting information. And then they can bring it back to you. You are like this central source of information. This is your specialty, and you're the safe place where they can download all this information they got. I mean, there's so much information in their head. They're swimming with it like, oh my God, I just too much. And you're the safe place where they can bring it back, even in notes form. They can bring it down, bring it back and kind of deconstruct it with you and say, here's what I liked. Here's what I saw that I was petrified of. And here's stuff that, it was okay. It was all, you know, it's all right. So can you help me with those three things? I saw things that like, whoa, I want to stay far away from that. This is okay. This excited me. This energized me. Can you help them when they're in that kind of mode?
The goal is to whittle this down to the decision. That's right. And you bring up the best thing that I think I provide, and that is the sounding board.
Oh yeah, great word.
The first time I get together with somebody, I do what I call an intake. I ask a lot of questions to get background. And I tell them my job is to be the listener, to hear you. And so when they come back, you know, these weeks later and they say exactly what you said, I'm scared of this, this is a maybe, this is a really good yes, I will say, yeah, but I remember back at the beginning when we met and you said you really don't like groups of people. Tell me how this is going to work, this idea that you have that you think is great, with what you said back then. What's changed?
Oh, that's great.
Or how is this different than what you were talking about then? So my job is to hear and feed it back. And it's often, you know, I tell people, I wish I had a magic wand or a magic test where you take it and it spits out the ta-ta-da-da, here's your answer. But that doesn't exist. And so the way we find this out is by talking about the results. What are you thinking about, what you're seeing? Is this true for you? Does it match up to what you told me in the beginning? What's different? How have you grown in this process? What have you learned about yourself? And when they hear themselves talking, that's where it comes together for them.
Wow.
That's where it comes together.
Wow.
And I love watching that. It's like watching a flower bloom.
Yeah. Oh, that should be exciting.
And if it's still scary, then we find out what's scary. And sometimes it's the emotional issue. I'm just scared. I haven't done this in so long.
Yeah.
Okay, well, and then I tell people, especially if they've been the stay-at-home caregiver,
Mhm.
let's see, you are the shopper and the cook and the child care provider and the teacher student liaison, and
Oh,
you've already done a ton of roles you just diminish in your own eyes.
yes. Mm-hmm.
Those all translate to paychecks.
Paycheck, you paid for it. Exactly.
Translate.
Exactly. And when listening to you talk, it occurs to me that you can just, the client can just go into information overload. I just can't sort all this out. It's like I only have 8 doors for information to go into my head, and there's not enough room in my head because I got 18 doors worth of information. And so I just can't wrap my brain around all of this. And you being the hub of information can remember back to the first time when you talked with them, and that they said, I'm not good in groups of people. I'm better, one-on-one, or I'm better in a room with a computer and the door shut. And they forgot that they told you that. They told you that in a time when you were saying, okay, what kinds of things have you done before that you really like? Gardening, cooking, whatever. What have you done that you've really liked, and you feel like you've excelled at it, and you feel good about yourself, and you liked doing it? Because I see people try and shift what they already know about themselves, shift it so that they can put themselves in the box, the round peg in the square hole, so that, okay, here's a job, I can get it right now, and it pays enough money right now, and I'm just going to do it. Because they lose all of that information, and they forget what they told you at the beginning, and they're just like, oh, it's a job, I can do it. And then there's another failure for them. Their marriage failed, or that relationship failed, and here's another failure. And that is not good, to build failure on top of failure. So having someone else who can remember, yeah, but you did tell me, has that changed now? Now that you're back kind of into the swing of things, has that changed now? Or did you just forget about that and not realize that this job will have a lot of that, a lot of that kind of activity in it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So to have an outside person to help you with that is just invaluable, isn't it?
I think so. I find that when I need help with something that is highly emotional, or I don't have the information that I need, and to address what you said at the beginning there, how do they get to the decision? I'm the bad guy. I force them to put things in order. Okay, got these 10 things. What's at the end of the pile? What's at the front of the pile? And some people really struggle with that, but it's a good struggle because they're having to think through the factors that are going to make them happy. And that's what I love what you just said, because I tell people that all the time. We don't want to do trial and error, because that's another load of bricks on your shoulders that make you feel terrible about yourself, and you don't need any more of that. You don't need any more of that. So this process helps you have a little more confidence and assurance and information to make a good decision.
Yeah. I had a lawyer who was a fabulous lawyer working for me. And she was great at writing. She was great at doing research. She was great at writing motions. She really liked to work on her own. She was highly motivated, self-motivated. She lived alone. She really liked the animals, but she didn't like people that much, but she didn't really notice that. And her previous job, before she worked for me at the previous attorney office, she did a lot of writing and research, and they had kind of a closed door policy. You could go into your office, close your door, get your cup of coffee, light your candle, whatever, turn on your music, and have at it, right? And that was being a lawyer to her. And when she came here, she did a lot of that, and she did it so well. She was so good at it. But then as I was having her meet with clients, she would do that information. She would put all that information together, but then it needed to be related to the client. And the client had to approve it, look at it, and say, yeah, that's true. That's right. And I get that point. That's totally correct. So she had to get some client approval around it and my approval around it. And then tell the client, okay, then here's where we're going to go next. So it involves some client interaction and client advice. And she hated that. She hated that. Now that comes really easy to me. That's part of law I like. It comes really easy to me. The writing doesn't. And I can do it, but it's not my favorite thing to do. And she just hated the client contact part. And a great job for you. It's not, you don't need to you can't be a lawyer. It's, you can take those talents and you take it to a firm that does appellate work. You take it to a firm that does a lot of motion work. You take it to a firm that has these lawyers that go to court and talk to clients, and these lawyers do the research and write the arguments for the other lawyer to argue in front of the judge. So you can have a whole set of skills and a name, a lawyer, and be miserable at a certain job. But there's a way, you just turn a few degrees off. If they can say, well, I like this part, I like this part, I like this part, there may be a job that just does that and then doesn't have this other stuff, the client contact and the going to the courthouse, talking to the judge, talking to the opposing counsel. It just has this part. So we can find you a job that just does that. So that much self-information is just invaluable. Oh my gosh. And so when she could do that, she loved her life.
Yep.
And when she had to go to court and she had to argue and she had to talk to clients, she hated that. And her life was miserable doing that. And so just getting her, I adored her, and just getting her in the right place, which may or may not be my firm, right? Getting her in the right place was so important to me and to her for her to be happy the majority of the hours of a day. And she was still a lawyer. And people say, well, you're a lawyer. Same thing. No, not same thing. No, just like you said about nurses,
right? Working
on the floor versus working in a nursing home versus being a hospice nurse versus being a nurse that looks at all of the things that are written down about that patient. So somebody who's reviewing records all the time versus the charge nurse versus working nighttime versus daytime. Oh my gosh, there's so many different things that you can choose from that all fit within nursing. But it takes some self-knowledge, and you don't want to do trial and error. I totally agree. This isn't the place to say, well, it looks good, looks close, I'm going to try it, because then you really feel like a failure when you don't do well.
And the problem with trial and error too, you bring up a good point, is that some people want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Oh, I can't be a lawyer then.
That's right. Yep.
because they don't think about all these other different facets and ways, where could I plug myself in? A
Wow.
small firm may not be the place to do it, but a larger firm where everybody's delineated by tasks and roles
Right.
might be the place for me. So we
Yes.
don't want to throw all of those years
Yeah.
out that you studied and worked hard to become that, when it's just a little, like you said, a little tweak over in this direction.
A couple of degrees different, and
Right.
that road takes you to a totally different place.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's a lot to figure out on your own.
It is. It
It's
is.
a whole
When
lot.
you're going through such a difficult emotional time. Yep.
Yeah.
That
You know,
is-
I have one last question for you, and it's kind of off divorce, but it may be helpful to people. Um, do you find that this works well for college age students or people that are going to school in trying to figure out what's my major going to be, or what school should I study at? Do you find your services work well for those kind of people also?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, yes to all those
Really,
questions.
that's really a good time. And I'm still baffled by why high schools or college freshmen aren't mandatorily required to sit in a class that helps them do this kind of thing. I really don't, because I hear from the 27-year-olds who come back, yeah, I knew that major wasn't right, but I was a junior before I figured that out. So I just got that degree and went on with it.
Yes,
This really
yeah,
would have helped me when.
yes,
Yes, it's a great time to figure
yeah.
that stuff out. It really is.
And what a good point. Why do we not have classes about that? I mean, I had to take calculus. Am I going to use calculus in my life? I don't think so. Probably not even geometry, but self-awareness about where I excel, where I don't excel, what I like, what I don't like. I mean, figuring that out as a freshman, holy cats, or as a senior in high school, holy cats. I can remember some. I took some. Now I'm 66, so this was a long time ago. But I took some kind of a test. Everybody took this test their senior year, and mine said, and I'm a talkative person. Mine said I should be a librarian. Hello, I'm way too loud for a librarian, or a nun. I'm like, those are two close things. Oh, yeah, like a librarian or a nun. Oh, what? So we've come a long way, haven't we?
Yes, we
With
have.
testing, good.
Yes,
I'm
we
so
have.
glad to hear that.
My ACT World of Work map. So when I'm 62, and when I took the ACT exam, it had a little career piece, and my dot was out in left field. It didn't have like, oh, great. Okay, wonderful.
You should be a horse rancher. Okay. Never ridden a horse, but okay. Yeah.
I think that it's sometimes it can be a little too early. Students just aren't ready. And I think today, with the way the world of work is and with the way we're raising children, it may be, you think to ask a 17-year-old, what do you want to do the rest of your life?
Yes.
That's a little daunting question. But this process gives them some direction so that you're not, and I'll tell you something you said earlier too, people go to the opposite extreme. I have so many artistic types, creative types, who decide, well, I don't want to be a starving artist, so I better do something practical. And they do something the exact opposite of who they are in every which way. And that's going to be soul crushing and physiologically bad for them. So we need guidance around this. It's not just about making money. It's not about just that anymore.
Yeah. And you know what else I hear in you talking is giving them permission.
Yes.
Giving them permission to fail, giving them permission to, this is a process. So you have time to decide, try it, don't like it, come back in. It's not like you get to the finish line, you're there and everything's cool, everything's happy.
Right.
It's putting together, a journey. It's putting together a timeline. And I hope to get to what I really like at the end, but I'm going to have to do some things to get there, and that being okay, having permission to take the time to do those things and meet those people and watch those jobs, and so that they are okay at the end.
Right. I tell people all the time, there are no mistakes. You are going to be, someday, you're going to be the candidate who has that obtuse piece thing that you did way back then. And you're going to say, I can do that. And you'll be the one hired.
That's right. That interview will be like, oh my God, holy grail, I found it. Right.
Build on everything. You stand on everything that you've done before. Nothing's a mistake.
Right. That's
and
right.
I'll tell you, today, there are a lot of young people who feel so anxious about having to get it right this first time. And I don't know where that's coming from, but
yeah.
Nope, you get to try it on. You get to, if you think you want to take that class, go take that class, but don't let that cute, attractive, funny professor convince you that you should be a chemistry major.
Yeah.
Because that may not be what the job is.
That's great. That's great. Well, I'm looking at the clock. Well, we're over time, but I'm glad we took the time to explore as much as we have, because I think it's such important information for everyone. It's important information for everyone. If you have children that are high school age, and it's important for everyone, but particularly important and mentally important for people facing divorce. Divorce is just a crisis, and during the middle of the house is burning down, you have to figure out what you're going to do. You know, what are you going to take with you? What are you going to leave behind? How are you going to handle that? And you just can't have enough support, can you? You just can't have too much support or people giving you permission to explore and fail and explore and succeed, and then stand on all those successes, pack them all together, step them up, and say, okay, I'm ready to own my own business now.
Right.
I don't have to meet anybody's criteria. I got my own business now. Mm-hmm.
Right.
That must be very rewarding for you to see people come out of it on top.
Well, the hard thing that doesn't quite match my personality, I do like to know the end of the story, and I always ask, let me know how it goes. You know,
right.
A few people do, and nothing gives me greater joy.
Yes.
But this process usually is, I load them up, I teach them everything I know, and they go forth and work with it. And if it's not working, call me back.
Yes.
We'll tweak, we'll figure out what's not working, so that you can keep going and reaching your goal.
Yes.
It's not about me, it's about what you need, and we'll get you there. It's, you know, I ask people, what is your goal? And they sheepishly, well, I kind of sort of would maybe like to figure out. I'm like, guess what? You're not asking for the moon. You can pinpoint it. We can go for it. And
you have permission. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for your wonderful guidance here. And if people want to contact you, actually, we're going to put this on YouTube, and we'll have your contact information there, but let's say they don't want to look that up on YouTube. Can you tell people how they can contact you personally?
Absolutely. I have two websites now. The one that'll get you everywhere is inspiredlifework.com.
Awesome.
I did that particularly not for any religious reasons, but inspired means to breathe life into. And so I love to help people do that with their career and their life. The other, I've been working on doing digital workshops so that you don't have to come in every week, or you could get this done more quickly. And that is inspiredlifeworkshop.com. It's still a little, we're tweaking it a little bit to see what works best for people. And I'm also thinking about going back to in-person workshops as well. I think people are ready to get back to in-person a little bit.
Yes. Yeah.
So there are lots of ways to get the help that you need. The other way you can contact me, of course, is glenda@inspiredlifework.com.
Okay.
And my phone number,
Yes.
314-401-3612.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. You've been an awesome guest and have helped more people than you know, more, including myself, more people than you know. So thank you so much for all of your wisdom and your little gems and your encouragement. I just can't thank you enough for how much you're encouraging people to not run from this, to take this on. This is a part of growing. This is a part of life. And you might as well be happy at it. So here's a way you can do that. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Marta.
And if you want to watch this again, check in tomorrow on Ask the Divorce Whisper on YouTube, and you can hear Glenda's wisdom again and share it with a friend. All right. Thank you so much. And we'll see you in 2 weeks. All right. Thank you so much. Bye.